Hi everyone, it's Selena. I've been asked many times on how to do an Asian smoky eye. So what I'm going to do is show you a few steps on how to do an Asian smoky eye, well blended, as well as highlight and contour on the face. Prior to filming, what I've done is I've prepped my face with some Clinique Laser Focus Serum, as well as Clinique Moisture Surge Spray. I really wanted to plump up my skin. I am a little more mature, so I don't want my skin to look dry because when I put makeup on, it's going to look very crepey. So let's begin. Prior to applying any type of foundation, I like to go with a silicone base, and that's just me. I've decided to use the Face It Oil Cut Balm. And what's nice about it is that it really smooths out the pores and the wrinkles of your face, and it also helps with the oil control factor. So I'm going to begin with a MAC 187 brush. I'm going to swipe the product on and really get it where the oil usually hits, and that's the pore. So really just very lightly dispersing the product on the face. A little goes a long way. Now this product comes with a sponge, and I chose not to use the sponge. So you can feel the slip on the skin. I love this product. It smells like lemongrass, and it really helps hydrate the skin as well as with the superficial texture. Now other products you can use are MAC Prep and Prime Skin Natural Radiance. There are other primers on the market like Smashbox makes a great one. So of course it's about finding the right product that's compatible to your skin. And I'm going to move on next with a mixture of my favorite two products. Unfortunately, one has been discontinued, but as a woman that's past her 30s, I like to make sure that I get enough hydration anytime I use anything that's silicone based. So I started off with Pro Longwear Concealer. This is NC35. And then I'm going to go in with my discontinued, but I still hoard it, MAC Moisturecover in NW30. Sometimes I find concealers great as a foundation, and remember, less is more. I'm also going to give it a shot of Pro Longwear Concealer in NC15. The reason why I'm mixing a cool color with a warm color is that I find as I age, my skin no longer looks as yellow. It actually needs a little bit more of a peach. So I'm going to mix these three colors together with my 187 brush. And with foundation, again, less is more. You want to test it out a little bit. For me, I've been doing my own face for most of my life, so I kind of know my color. But for those of you who are doing makeup on someone else, make sure that you test the color out. So I'm going to apply this just really evenly. Bear with me, I like to check in a close-up mirror. Keep in mind that when you're doing makeup on video, the makeup is amplified, but you cannot always see the streaks, so it's good to check in an actual mirror. So this is the first coating. What's nice about these foundations nowadays with the silicone content, the more you buff the product in, the more the powder surfaces. So again, less is more. You can always go back. Remember that I'm using a concealer, so when using a concealer, you really just need to dot on where you need to. It's a little bit more concentration of the NC15. When people look at you, they look into the zone, so you want to make sure that this part is nice and color corrected and concealed. I'm going to let it marinate for a little bit. The product will dry down, so when I start blending, I don't have to work so hard or pack so much makeup on. Paying special attention to the triangle underneath the eye right here where I'm tracing with my brush. So I learned from many years of doing photography makeup, the best way to highlight and add dimension to an Asian face is the upside down triangle from the top of the brow to the top of the brow and down into the chin. This would be the zone right here that you want to highlight before hitting up with contour. So again, I'm buffing quite a bit. Very light hand. The thing is, if you've done a great job in buffing, you don't need as much product. You can also get your finger in there and tap down the edges, especially if you're working on someone who's got a drier skin. Sometimes the product will sit and not move. So what happens is when you're using your finger to tap it down, the product will actually nicely melt into the skin and give you a flawless finish. Now, women in their 30s, we tend to have, I like to say, the goatee from hell. We have a lot of hyperpigmentation in this area due to sun and hormones, so you want to make sure you put on extra product in terms of concealer. A lot of times it's more of a cool color, almost like a grayish. For deeper skin tones, sometimes it turns a little purple, and that's cool. So you want to neutralize it by adding something with peach, something warm. And just kind of layer on. I'm actually just using what's left on my hand. And this is a great trick for people who complain that their mouth is too wide. I find that it's good to put a finger space of concealer on the outer corners of the lip before drawing it in. It's going to make all the difference. And I'm going to tap on any remaining concealer. It's pretty magical that when you're using concealer and you go with minimal product, you let it dry down the back of your hand and go back over, how little you need. You don't need to Shaka Zulu stripe your whole face. I know that's very popular with Instagram, but as we mature, sometimes that's not the best option because that actually will give you the look of a lot of fine lines and wrinkles. So I'm going to pull the camera closer so you can see. Most of my discoloration has been covered. So let's begin with the process of the smoky eye. So after the skin has been prepped, I'm going to use a MAC Pinwheel palette. And this came out recently, not so long ago. For those of you who are MAC hoarders and have the MAC Blonde, Brunette, and Redhead, don't worry, powders don't expire so quickly, so you can still use those. Those are actually the same colors. Trust me, my previous life I worked for MAC. So what you want to do is contour the face before you do a smoky eye on an Asian bone structure, because the fact that you cannot really understand it unless you feel it out. So you want to put your hands on someone and feel it. But a great guideline is to contour first. From the top of the ear to the bottom of the ears, draw an imaginary triangle to the side of the nose. And you're going to stop the contour around the outer third of the eye. Reason being that you don't want to draw the face down and age it. So with that said, you're going to pull the contour into the ear, also a little in the temple, about 2 finger spaces from the highest arch of the brow, as well as underneath the chin, maybe about a thumb's width into the jawline. If someone's wearing their hair up, make sure that you're blending appropriately because no one likes a beard. So I'm going to mix the 4 colors together. I actually chose to use a dark one because I'm very light-handed. Now, if you're heavier handed, you might want to go into a lighter color. Anything that's taupey, beige, if you have taupe blush from MAC or anything comparable, something with a little bit of ash is nice. I'm using something a little bit more reddish just because on Asian skins being so sallow, a little bit of warmth is really nice as a contrasting point, so that not all the time do you need a blush. So I'm just gonna go right ahead with the same brush that I used to blend out my foundation and just really swipe that color on. You want to swipe first, like so, and then you want to swirl to blend. Again, when you're contouring an Asian face, we tend to have less space here in this area from the lower lip to the chin. Not a lot of us have very square jawlines, so you really want to pay attention to that. Whenever you want to pull something back, you want to shade, and whenever you want to bring something out, you want to highlight. So again, 2 finger spaces from the high point of the brow. And I'm really just softly blending it and blending everything across into the hairline. I like to start with a very natural contour and not get too crazy, because it's always good to add in, but it's also hard to subtract, because then you'll find yourself putting more and more concealer to compensate. Again, I'm swirling the product on, like so. And I know I'm doing makeup on myself. FYI, I live in Miami. Asians are rare. So I have to kind of do this on myself to show people how to do it, but it's all good. So now you're starting to see the bone structure a little, and just gently buff the product in. If you look at side A and side B, you're starting to see a little bit of difference. I'm not a big fan of contouring real heavy, as I said before, just because as we age, it looks really dramatic. I'm not going out to anywhere special. It probably will be wiped off after I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Okay, so I've done the other side, and I'm finding that the product's turning a little bit more red than I expected. So I'm going to just go into with the dark part of the compact, using a more of a dome brush, just shading in. And what's going to happen is that brown, the cool in the brown is going to cancel out some of that red that I'm finding in the palette. So again, where I need to, keeping in mind that this camera will over dramatize anything I put on the face. Of course, when in doubt, check it out in sunlight. And so what I've done is I've also grabbed my Mineralize powder. This is a light medium to really blend and smooth out the edges. What's nice about this powder is a little goes a long way, and it helps blend out anytime you make a contour boo-boo, as I like to say. You don't want to overload it. You want to make sure that you spray down. I'm going to go in with some Moisture Surge spray to finish it off. Okay, so I'm close up in the mirror, and you can see that the product has not looked so red anymore, and there's contour where I need to. I don't like a heavy contour, again, as I said, because I like to work gradually towards it. So now I'm going to go back into this palette and go into the deeper colors, and dabbing a little bit of this orangey color, and I'm actually going to start contouring the crease. I like to give a circular contour around the eye, as one of my pet peeves is having a top heavy eye. Where you put that brush is going to be where the majority of the color is, so be careful if you have close set eyes that you don't go right in here first, because if you do, your eyes are going to be super close together and you're going to end up doing more work in highlighting. Now, to give more of a structured contour, you can add product where you need more depth. So I'm going to go and swipe this around the eye. Again, for an Asian eye shape, we tend to have a very defined brow bone and cheekbone, and we tend to have smaller eyes, so you want to also make sure that contour is bigger. So I like to blend out, and sometimes I'll take whatever's left on the brush and blend it right into the temple. If you look at the difference now, one eye looks way bigger than the other. And I can keep doing this pretty much forever, but you don't have to. Keeping that contour, leaving that space right here to give it more of a aerodynamic look. Now I'm going to do the other side. Okay, so I've done the other side. In case you're wondering what brush this is a Sephora Crease brush. The number has worn out, so I don't know. And as far as a dome brush, you can use a MAC 129. This is a drugstore find that I found in my kit that I really enjoy. Apartment 5, I think it's from CVS or Dwayne Reed, somewhere in New York. I picked it up one day when I lost my powder brush, but it's super soft. It's synthetic with gold, which is really nice. I'm going to go in underneath the eye, just swiping it right around with the darker shades, which are these two colors right here. You want to pull your eyelid down, or your client's eyelid down. But now you're starting to see some structure. And for the nose contour, I like to use the nose where the tip is as a guide. I also contour and dab a tiny bit, as you can see, right where the nostrils are, and then connect the dots. Now, if someone doesn't need a nose contour, you don't have to go crazy. It's a nice touch for dramatic makeup, but you don't have to do it. And the only reason why I've learned to do this is I've done a whole lot of face charts in my previous life. Now, if someone has a wider nose, you can also cut some of that off with a leftover powder. Try not to dip too much because you can always add on, and it's harder to subtract. Okay, now to the brows. Sometimes I do the eye before I do the brow, but if I did a smoky eye now, it looked garishly freaky on camera. So I've chosen Toasted Blonde Waterproof Brow Set from MAC. I'm going to actually put it on the back of my hand and paint it on as I would with a waterproof brow gel. I also like Aqua Brow from Makeup Forever. Can't find it in my gear right now, so I'm going to use the Toasted Blonde. And with the brow, again, the starting point is around the tip of the nose and up. And then you can turn that brush to the outer third of the eye. That is the highest point of the brow. And then finally to the end of the eye, from the center of your Cupid's bow would be the end point of your brow. So my brow can be pretty extended. And because I am getting older, I shouldn't be drawing my brows so high. I have to find a happy medium. So with that said, naturally where my brow is the highest is where I'm going to kind of mark off. So I think right here is good for me, right here. And try to make your marks as small as possible, as you don't want to have to correct again. So I'm just going to use my mirror. I'm going to draw little hairs. With my 266 brush from MAC. There's a whole lot of brushes like this in the market. No longer do you always have to buy MAC, but the MAC ones are really good. Even better if you can get to MAC Pro and get the 263. So I'm just going to draw in my brows real quick and I'll come back and you can see what it looks like. Okay, as you can see, what I've done is I've drawn in some hairs, and the trick to it is to keep the bristles on that brow, drop and pull up. So I've done that with both sides. They look pretty even. I can always go back over with powder. And I also have a tinted brow gel. This is Sophisticated from MAC. It's very blonde. Use this as a blender just on the tops of the hair. I actually don't have a lot of hair in my brows. I've over tweezed over the years and my brows are naturally round and I'm not very fond of my natural shape. Oops, sorry mom and dad. But okay, so I found that it's easier with my eye shape to use a pencil and line the inner rim underneath the eye before I begin any type of a smoky eye. And this is an amazing liner. It's a gel pencil from Hourglass. It's totally super black. And I'm just really rimming the lower lash line This color is Obsidian. This is the waterproof, again, waterproof gel pencil from Hourglass. I must say it's the shiznick. So you're seeing now that I'm starting to get some definition. I have this other Sephora brush and that is like a pencil tip. And so what I'm going to do is blend that puppy out. What's great about this gel liner pencil is that in high humidity, it really wears out. So I'm also going to do the top lash line. And it's okay to get a little sloppy in the beginning. I like to do the outer corner first. And then I'll do the inner corner. And I'm going to switch to time lapse so you can see it in action really quickly. Okay, I'm gonna let you take a close look. So this is a great daytime smoky, but for some of us who are real dramatic, I've chosen the Bobbi Brown gel liner in black. I'm gonna go in with this paintbrush tip and I'm going to really concentrate on the outer corner and just smear it on my upper lip. Just go for it. What's nice about the gel liners is that they will really adhere to the shadows. But of course, it's good to have a base, because if you don't, then it's gonna look really rough and you're gonna have to spend a lot of time blending out. But if you start off with a pencil, there's a slip that you can work over. And it's all about keeping a back and forth windshield wiper swipey motion, because you really want that product to warm up on your eye so that you can get the product properly dispersed. In order to blend everything out, I'm going to go back to my crease brush, give it a little bit more pressure, and just again go back and forth. For those of you who are MAC junkies, I do have the Antonio Lopez palette. I love it. But this is the purple. I'm going to use the black, which is carbon, and I'm really going to map out the outer lid and the inner eye. I'm just going to go for it because I want it super blacked out. So now I'm going to go back and after and blend, but I'm going to switch into time lapse. Okay, I'm back. So give your QVC turn. I've actually used my fingers, you can see, to really blend up that product into my temple. I'm going back over with this orange tone on the edges. And yes, it's okay to pull the shadow all the way up to your brow. It's not illegal. You can always go back and highlight where you need to. This is the way I used to wear smoky eye all the time. And everyone used to go, oh, what are you doing? So now I'm going to really restructure the eye. I'm gonna go back in with my carbon before I hit it up with some color if I wish. So the placement is really just around the lash line, just getting it in there. Starting from the inner corner, the outer corner of the eye, whoops, to the outer corner. And here, this area, the eye goes inward and I have an overlapping eyelid, so it's really good to fill it out, then try to work against the structure of the eye. And it gives a very sexy look. So I'm gonna do the same with the inner eye. I like to really fill and really define that eye. So now I'm gonna go back to time lapse. Not really into a very defined highlight here. I think it looks very 80s on me, but I like a really modern smoky. And I can go further here, going back into my paintbrush, again with my gel liner. Of course, not forgetting to clean off all that powder so it doesn't get into the gel liner. And really just going really over that black shadow, that carbon, very lightly. Below and on top of the eye, you see the difference. It gives a very intense eye line. And what's nice about an Asian eye shape, if you get used to it, it's a lot of fun because you can manipulate the eye and really see what products can do to change that eye shape. If you make a boo-boo, don't worry about it because you can actually go over and correct with a foundation and your foundation brush. Now, a lot of questions I have is, oh, you're doing this black shadow, how can you not have fallout? The key is to keep a very light hand and keep those bristles on the skin. That way the product will really stick and won't end up all over your clothes and all over you or your customer's face. So now I have a very blacked out eye. I haven't worn it like this for a while. I think I'm ready for some color. I'm gonna go in today with a little bit of a complementary color scheme. I'm gonna use a teal green, and then I'm going to mix it with some violet just for fun. So I'm gonna go back into time lapse. Okay, back to video mode. What do you guys think? I have no fallout. Any other things I need to correct, I can just easily get my finger and burnish out. Now I'm going to highlight a tiny bit under the brow. There's a light white pink color. You can use Yogurt from MAC if you have that, or any type of semi-matte highlighter. I'm just going into, with an angle brush, just a tiny oval, just to soften up some of that shadow right under the brow. I'm using a synthetic brush. This is a beauty shop brush that I got while I was buying my nail polish, and it's actually wonderful. You can also highlight a tiny bit here, but I think what I'm going to do is just a tiny bit. And remember, video actually amplifies makeup, so you don't want to go buck wild with it because it can get patchy and crazy real fast. I want to give back that highlight, so I'm going really lightly. And I'm going to also, I think, kind of tweak some things that I have here with a highlighter pen. This is a Prep and Prime highlighter pen in Light Boost. I'm gonna go back just a little bit. Boom, boom. I like to mark off, as I like to say, my territory. This is the best. You walk around the house like this. I'm going to blend this puppy out. FYI, it's okay to go over powdered foundation with a highlighter pen as long as you keep it pretty light. You can take the brush in your palm of your hand to really warm up the product and help with the blendability. So now I'm going to just blend. I'm going back into time lapse. Okay, so what do you guys think? So this is, you saw the green in the center of the lid and the two purples on the crease on top where the boundaries of the green lie with the contour. So I think I'm gonna stop here right now. I'm happy with this, and now I'm going to go into the lip. I'm going to use Night Moth lip liner from MAC, and I'm going to fill in my lip before hitting it up with Retro Matte Liquid Lip in. Oh, lady. I'm going back on time lapse. Okay, I started off with the lip liner. I haven't finished yet. I've actually gone and filled in my entire lip with Night Moth, and I'm going to go in with a very tiny angled brush. This is actually acrylic painting brush from the Art Supply. I love these because they don't get ruffled. So I'm going back into time lapse so you can see me really refine the look of the lip line. Alright, so I've completed that portion of really putting on that lip and getting as perfect as I could. Now I'm going in with a cream color base. This is one of the MAC palettes for Trend Forecast. I'm going to mix the beige with the pink, and I'm going to actually hit up the tops of my cheekbone right over the contour. I like cream cheeks because, number one, they're finger friendly. As we mature, you get wrinkles, so you want to make sure that you use something that's nice and creamy during the day as the skin dries out. This will prevent the skin from looking chalky. And I've chosen that mauve combination to give some blood back into my skin. So just really tapping, and I found the middle finger tends to do the job really well. Just tapping lightly. Okay, so now with that said, I've let the hair down a little. I'm going to go in and curl my lashes and mascara and put on some falsies so you can see the final product, and I'm going back onto time lapse. Okay, so the makeup's done. Just to let you know, what I used on the eyes after the makeup was done was I based my lashes with the Christian Dior eyelash base, and then went over with Hot and Naughty underneath the false lash and over the false lash, just to marry my personal lashes with these falsies. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and have a great day.